What's good, what's good? We're back. It's a Friday night, about 8 p.m. here in England. Just finishing up actually. It's really windy, it's been crazy weather. Quick update on the car. Just wanted to bring everyone up to speed because I'm about to hop on a plane to go back to Miami tomorrow, so not going to be giving updates for 2 weeks or so. The cool thing is though, in Miami I'll try to vlog a couple times because I'm gonna go see a couple of my friends with some really cool JDM cars and see a few shops and some really cool things. So I think there'll be some content to show everyone. Nonetheless, I wanted to show you where I got with the car right now. We've done a lot. There's still a lot to do. The plans have changed slightly. So the plan was to do a lot of the underbody repairs and everything here at the compound, I'll call it, by ourselves. Now the way the plans changed slightly is because I have everything to complete the car, I said, fuck that, we're gonna put the car all together right now, get it rolling and try to MOT it. MOT, for those not in the UK, is basically your roadworthiness exam, so to speak. So they check things like your brakes, your tires, all your lights, your indicators, fog lights, make sure all that works. Emissions is tested. This car is a 95, so it's a May 95 car, so it's actually exempt from emissions. Time for a test pipe. It actually has a test pipe on it, it's just rusted, so I'm going to try to get a new test pipe. And all that. So it's a useful test. It's something they probably should do in the US, actually, for cars, because we keep most of the Toyota Tercels in Miami off the road. But nonetheless, we don't have it. So let's show you where I got to so far in the car and what we need to do left. So we got quite a few things going on in the garage here. It's my buddy Ross. This is his it's a 944. He's got a couple 944s. This thing's pretty. So he's redoing this. And here is the Skyline. So on the Skyline, we actually ended up finishing up all the engine bay. Everything is back together, and you can see a lot's changed since the last time I showed this to you. First thing that's quite easy to notice is painted the valve covers, rocker covers, as I call them here. It's a wrinkle black paint. As you can see, it didn't come out very good. It came out okay, but it's flat in some areas and kind of changes with direction. So some angles it looks a lot better than it did. But nonetheless, that's all together. Got new intakes. These are some, I don't know if they're like first gen or second gen HKS super suction reloaded or whatever they call those. I found those quite cheap, 65 pounds I think I paid off eBay here, and the filters were brand new. So that was a cool pickup. I listed my old intakes, they're still not sold yet. And there was just a bunch of things that were missing in the car, in the engine bay, that I ended up having to get new. So first thing I've noticed was the charcoal canister. The bracket was just missing, so this thing was flopping about. That kind of was annoying. The power steering reservoir, this whole bracket was just cut off it. I don't know why it was cut. So I was able, luckily, to find a new one used one from the GTR Heritage Center, which is somewhere up north in England, and they're quite helpful to me. They pretty much have every single part that I've been able to request, and they send it to me next day. As you can see, I sandblasted a lot of the turbo components, all the elbows that were alley in here. I cleaned up every single hose. Put a lot of new clamps on, all the vacuum lines. Every single vacuum line was cracked in multiple places, so those have all been replaced. New twin turbo emblem. I didn't sandblast the center section before paint, so I decided I was going to run without it. Thought, why not? Replace the spark plugs in there. Of interest, I would say the first 3 plugs were dry and everything was cool, and then the last 3 plugs on the threads, it was kind of oily. The tips were white. They were just what I deemed to be normal. But I need to figure out a little bit more about why the threads would have been oily. So kind of annoying, and I assume it's just the oil rings are gone on them. So I'm going to try to do a compression test at some point, but let's see. Not the end of the world. cleaned up this. I think I told you about that last episode. So that cleaned up very nicely. Got all the mounting brackets for the radiator. There was 2 missing rubber bushes at the bottom. Those were just gone, so I had to find those, buy them, and put them in. And then I started to dive into the vac lines on this side of the engine. Of interest to some people, and probably alarm to a lot, the fuel pressure regulator had a T on it, and it was teed to this boost pressure sensor here, which I guess runs to the Apex AVCR that I have on the car. So ended up taking that T off because I was reading online that this is the one line you don't T. I repeat, do not T this line, and instead plug it in here towards the back of the there's like a chamber here, air chamber. So plug into that instead. That's the best place to plug a pressure sensor. So that's cool. Tidied that up, you know, put some tie wraps and made it a cleaner install, and all new vac lines for that. I noticed something that's kind of horrible, and I'm just gonna run with it for now. I'm very displeased and sad I have to tell you this, but there's a couple vac lines that are just plugged with bolts, and this is how I found the car. So what happens is this line specifically is the one that has the yellow stripe on it, which holds the orifice, the boost pressure limiter, I guess, basically. So that runs through a hard line, and it's supposed to plug into the back of the plenum. There's a line that plugs into the back of the plenum. Instead, the jackass who owns this car plugged this line directly into the boost pressure solenoid and bypass and plug that one up with a bolt as well. So effectively bypassing this. There's no need for that because this literally plugs into the pressure sensor, and I could have got rid of all these stupid bolts and back lines. So now there's just long back lines that have been tied off, stuck down here. Of interest, changes the oil filter, brand new K&N with it's got a hex on the end so I can take it off. That's a bitch to get to. It doesn't take 2 hours like people say online, but you know, it's a bitch, so we'll call it what it is. And then I put on this horrible strut tower brace that came with the car that was powder coated a candy purple, and it's rusted. So this is a stock brace. I was looking online. I've seen some for like 50 quid, so I might just buy another stock one in the normal silver color and put it back on. So that's cool. We got all that set. So the engine bay, as you see it, is complete. I mean, this should be turnkey. We're gonna pour some oil in it and get ready to go. Something else that's really funny, and I'm going to try to show you, is let's see if you can see it. Oil sump. There you go. So you can see the oil sump. We got a tab on it. So when I bought the car, what I learned was that is not the stock M12 that's in there. That's actually an M14. And the previous owner, so one of the previous owners, decided he was going to tap this the oil sump to M14 for God knows what reason. And in doing so, he tapped it on the piss, so off, not perpendicular to the surface, so it doesn't seal. So when I found the car, all of the sump was covered in oil. It was like dry oil, like streaked. Obviously, I cleaned it, so it's not like that. But my buddy Ross here, very resourceful, he made me a carbon washer that's on an angle that takes up the gap, basically, effectively closing up the gap that was left by the bad tapping. So that's cool. So we're gonna put a copper washer on there, and then we're gonna fill it with oil. We got some brand new. We got it's a Motul 8100 5W40. 5W40 is what I saw was pretty good for the RB26. If you guys have opinions of something else to use, let me know. We can go for that. But for now, that's what we're gonna go with. I guess the final thing is we got some exhaust parts for sale. This is for sale. This is the exhaust that came off it. I think it's on eBay right now for 100 pounds, but I'll take like 70 for it. It's whatever. It looks pretty clean. I think it's at least 3.5 inch through, or it's probably 3 inch. It's nice though. And then here's what I got for the car. So this is a full HKS high power silent. I believe it's a silent because it has this resonator box. So the silent, I have HKS downpipe, which is cool, and obviously the back section. Everything's in good condition. It's all authentic HKS. I'm really happy about that, and I paid not very much for it. Let's say, what was it, 400 pounds shipped for all of this. So it was highway robbery basically, because if you look on terra firma for this part alone, 800 some odd dollars just for the downpipe, and the exhaust, you know, it's another 1,000 probably US. So good deal. We got the rocker covers off, side skirts for everyone else in the world. There's various places on the side skirts which the materials, it's definitely rusted on the inside. These are pretty solid on this. This is definitely really solid here, but there are a couple spots on the other side that don't look good. Nonetheless, we're putting it all back together because I'm going to drive this car to, I'm pretty sure I'm going to go to Auto Torque and have them give me a nice proper quote. They get, you know, we've been exchanging emails, and I'm really confident they'll be able to do the underbody repairs that I need to do on the car. It's going to cost me, but it's going to be cool. So yeah, that's where we are with the GTR. We're going to sign off for a couple weeks, but we'll touch base in Miami, showing you some cool JDM cars from some of my buddies and a few cool shops. So until then, peace out.